Greetings, this is Christine Van Pelt on Gibson County, Indiana, State Coordinator and Lead Recording Secretary for the Indiana Assembly, and this is for GenEd Wednesday. We are continuing with Brent Allen Winter's Declaration of 76, United States Constitution, a common lawyer comments, clause by clause. We'll go ahead and get this going here. We'll first go through the study guide questions from last week, and then we'll go through the reading for this week, and then we'll run through what the questions are for the study guide over the reading for this week so that you'll be able to go through that over this next week. All right, here we go. So we went through pages 89 to 96, and the presentation for this will be in the description, and here is the link from that reading, as well as here is the link if you wanted to purchase Brent Allen Winters, support his mission. He is on Terre Haute, Indiana. He is not presented to the Indiana Assembly. I'm not sure if he is if he's an American national, how that's working with him, but he is on Terre Haute. So if you can support him, no funds come back to the Assembly other than the training and knowledge that everyone is able to gain from it. All right, so we'll start with question 125, section 8, clause 12. Raise and support armies, but no to raise and support armies, but no appropriation of money to that use shall be for longer than 2 terms. In fact, Magna Carta came about due to the barons' refusal to fund King John's War. Lord Octon, any presumption is against the holders of power, increasing as the power increases. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Note well, this clause bars Congress from funding the Army for more than 2 years at a time. Number 129, Section 8, Clause 13, to provide and maintain a navy. In a word, this clause empowers Congress to buy and build warships, docks, munitions, and shipyards, and to train and pay sailors and shipwrights. Question 131, Section 8, Clause 14, to make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces. So also, let's see where that one is at. So also this clause empowers Congress, never the President, to make rules for the government and regulation of the land and naval forces. 133, not General Washington, but our early Congress then governing. Let's see. That one is at number 133. Right? Yeah, because we love that. Okay, so 133 is on 91. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. It says, not General George Washington. Oh, here we go. Not General George Washington, but our early Congress. Okay. Then governing under the Articles of Confederation, adopted the British Crown's military regulation for our Continental Army and hoped for American Navy. Section 8, Clause 15, to provide for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. 135, in fact, let's see, in fact, because the militia is the people themselves, the government decree can never end it or its duty. 136. Further, Congress's power to do so is non-delegable. No president has right to decide by his own standard or lack thereof whether an invasion or local insurrection, an uprising, warrants his calling up the militia. Note well, let's see. Note well, the militia of the several states are not the National Guard, but rather embrace every able-bodied man. Number 138, Section 8, Clause 16, to provide for organizing, arming, and disciplining the militia, and for governing such part of them as may be employed in the service of the United States, reserving to the states, respectively, the appointment of the officers and the authority of training the militia according to the discipline prescribed by Congress. 139. Americans have never amended this militia clause. Its straightforward meaning gives the right understanding. Number 140, our Constitution allots concurrent authority over the militia to each of the states and Congress. 141, the Militia Act of 1792 was Congress's first legislation in this matter. On this matter. 142, every free able-bodied white male citizen of the respective states resident therein who is or shall be of age 18 years and under the age of 45 years shall be enrolled in the militia. 143, and this clause, let's see, and this clause leaves organizing to each state, but transfers to Congress authority to provide rules governing how the states are to go about the task. Congress legislates, Senate, the states execute. Okay. 144. Hence, let's see, 144. Hence, whether called out or mustered or not, all able-bodied men from 16 to 60 remains by our Constitution's common law the militia organized, i.e. regular. To sum up, whether or not having any call, the militia are always regular, armed, and ready. Let's see. Okay, 146. Further, as did the English Knight's fee, our militia provides for the common defense largely in men instead of tax dollars, thus reducing the possibility of unlawful spending and temptation to hire mercenaries. Section 8, Clause 17, to exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over such district not exceeding 10 miles square, as may by secession of particular states and the acceptance of Congress become the seat of the government of the United States, and to exercise like authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the state, in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. That word needful, that's kind of an alarming kind of word there. Number 148, this, because it depends on what one considers as needful. 148, this clause gives Congress exclusive and full legislative power, not only over the District of Columbia, but also over all federal military property called federal enclaves, land it has obtained for military purposes only by consent of the state wherein it lies, and upon which it has erected forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. All right. Section 8, Clause 18, to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Congress in the government of the United States or in any department or officer thereof. 150. Thus, even though an act of Congress is necessary, government must carry out such an act keeping with all of the Constitution's other demands and restraints under due process, which is the course of the common law. In sum, the words necessary and proper are not words of raw power, but words of administration and process. And I mistakenly put power here. The word is process. So note that in your study guide for question 151, that word is process. Okay. All right. Now we'll go ahead and we're going, next reading segment is pages 96 to 102. And that is also on the presentation description. Let me go ahead and get this video up and we will play this one for you.
Greetings.
Hold on. Get this adjusted here. Okay, and then we'll make sure we get that display screen share for you, and we'll go ahead.
Greetings, this is Christine Van Pelt, State Coordinator for the Indiana Assembly. This is for Gen Ed Wednesday, continuing with Brent Allen Winters, Declaration of 76, United States Constitution, a common lawyer comments, clause by clause. All right. Section 9, Clause 1. The migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. Comment. Only here and at Amendment 7 does the Constitution refer the dollar. Its value is not defined because its value is fixed and well known. As such, it is unconstitutional to alter this fixed value, as the Federal Reserve Bank chairman now does, without amending our Constitution. This clause refers to the slave trade, slavers and slave dealers, as well as some slave holders. wanted to keep Congress from stopping anyone from bringing slaves into the country before the year 1808. The year Congress did ban the importation of slaves. Section 9, Clause 2. The privilege of the writ of habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless when in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Comment. The writ of habeas corpus is our great weapon against false jailing, available only in common law countries. Called the Great Writ, the writ of habeas corpus grants no right. The right against false jailing is as old as the laws of nature, but instead provides a ready tool whereby one can quickly remedy a false imprisonment. Even Scotland, though part of the United Kingdom, yet being under civil law forms, does not enjoy this writ's power. Habeas corpus is a writ court order commanding officials and jailers, indeed anyone government or non-government, holding captive another to bring that person, body, corpus, into court and convince the court that the prisoner is lawfully jailed. If that jailing power gives no lawful reason, the judge must order the prisoner freed on the spot. The common law tradition holds this writ to be the first and greatest weapon for the personal freedom, the common law having upheld it for ages before Parliament by statute confirmed it. The writ of habeas corpus, by which the authority under which a person may be detained can be challenged, is of immemorial antiquity. After a checkered career in which it was involved in the struggles between the common law courts and the courts of chancery and the Star Chamber, as well as in the conflicts between Parliament and the Crown, the protection of the writ was firmly written into English law. Right, subsection 53. Note, the Star Chamber and Chancery were both civil law tribunals. Parliament abolished the Star Chamber Court. The Chancery Courts, also called equity courts, persisted into America, but common law principles such as stare decisis, case precedent, now govern Chancery. The jury, however, are not used. Because the power of the habeas corpus writ to keep a country free is immeasurable, it alone is called the Great Writ. Rooted in olden times, to understand it requires recourse to the common law. From the earliest history of the common law, if a person was imprisoned, no matter by what authority, he had a right to the writ of habeas corpus to bring his case before the king's bench, and if no specific offense was charged against him in the warrant of commitment, he was entitled to be forthwith discharged. And if an offense was charged which was bailable, the court was bound to set him at liberty on bail. If nevertheless confirmed no new right, but only secured a right already existing, for although the right could not justly be denied, there was often no effectual remedy against its violation. Justice Taney in Ex parte Merriman 17 F Case 144, 1861. Indeed, the right of habeas corpus applies to all, regardless of standing, whether freeman, slave, or stranger. See example Exodus 22:21, Deuteronomy 1:16. The Great Writ's modern use first came to light during the civil canon law tribunals' attacks on common law freedom during the Reformation in England. Nicholas Fuller, 1543 to 1620, English Puritan Hebraist, theologian, and barrister at Gray's Inn. Though now forgotten, defended case by case in open court his clients' rights of individual conscience, advising them to remain silent for following Fuller's counsel. However, the Star Chambers and the High Commission's priest judges failed Fuller's clients for contempt. Jailed Fuller's clients for contempt. In response, Fuller appealed to the common law court of the King's Bench for the writ of habeas corpus. They, Fuller's clients, ought to be released, Fuller argued, because the High Commission has not been empowered by law to fine or imprison. See generally this handbook, U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, Clause 8, and comment discussing oaths. Indispensable to the civil canon law's devices of inquisition is the power of government to hold the target of its investigation under arrest in order to wear him down, discourage him, and subdue him into conformity with the will of the state. Jailing a suspect or potential witness for long spells under hard and humiliating conditions can break his will and force his compliance to false confession or testimony. In 1679, in response to such practices of priest kingcraft, and to enforce the common law right of habeas corpus, Parliament passed the Habeas Corpus Act, fixing and ensuring a sure-footed procedure for all those jailed, whereby the one jailed or a concerned party can petition the court to command the jailer to bring his prisoner before the court and convince the court that the imprisonment is lawful, i.e., satisfies the common law due process. In short, the writ burdens the jailer to prove his jailing of the petitioner is lawful. The writ of habeas corpus is applicable against not only the government, but also against anyone holding another falsely. For example, the writ can run against a parent or other family member having false custody of a child, whether by mistake, misunderstanding, or by willful intent, i.e. kidnapping. The writ can also run against a hospital for holding one without right. This safeguard against false imprisonment enables fulfillment of God's covenant to spread out and fill the earth. The Habeas Corpus Act created no new right against unlawful false imprisonment, but instead provided the wrongly jailed man a real, in-place, readily available procedural remedy, enabling enjoyment of the ancient right. Upon a jailed party's petition protesting false imprisonment, the court will issue this great writ to the jailer, commanding that he make return on the writ by bringing the prisoner's body, corpus, before the court and satisfy the court that the imprisonment is lawful. If the jailing power fails to meet this burden, the court will order release of the prisoner forthwith. If, however, the jailing power ignores the court's writ, the court will order the sheriff or its marshals or bailiffs to arrest the one refusing to make return on the court's order, and to jail that jailer for contempt until he agrees to obey the writ, called putting the jailhouse key in the prisoner's pocket. The writ commands the jailer to bring his prisoner before the court for two reasons. First, that the petitioner may testify, call witnesses, cross-examine witnesses, and make oral arguments. Second, that if the court finds that the law demands his release, he will be set free on the spot, avoiding the jailer's dallying or outright refusal. Of great note, the writ of habeas corpus requires that the jailer, whether sheriff, police chief, hospital administrator, warden, military officer, know, understand, and show good and lawful cause for the jailing of the person in question. Further, the burden is on the jailer to prove the lawfulness of his holding the one jailed. The one jailed need prove nothing or even say nothing. In short, the one jailed need prove nothing nor otherwise testify. The Habeas Corpus Act secures speedy relief from unlawful imprisonment. Perhaps, says Wright, the most important writ known to the constitutional law of England. This writ is again in the forefront as the federal government balks at recognizing Islamic prisoners a right to it. As state power multiplies, this ancient writ becomes more needed, not less. War breeds dangerous state power. War begets powerful men. Powerful men beget more war. Thus, history testifies. Indeed, wartime abuse is bringing the necessity of habeas corpus into clearer focus. To sum up, because the writ of habeas corpus strikes at inquisition, the foundation of Roman civil law, it is unknown, indeed forbidden, in civil law states. The writ is a jailed person's weapon, enabling handy challenge not only of the illegality of his imprisonment, but also the lawlessness of the jailing power. By removing the state's power of intimidation through arbitrary jailing of an undefined length of time, the writ of habeas corpus strikes at the heart of tyranny. Only in extraordinary circumstances does our Constitution allow suspension, ignoring of the writ. Throughout our history, whether concerning slavery, war, or other matters, the writ of habeas corpus has been available and often used. Writing in 1833, Justice Story recognized that only Congress has the power to suspend habeas corpus, adding, no suspension of the writ has ever been authorized by Congress since the Constitution. See also Ex parte Merriman, 17 F. Case 144, 1861. By placing the guarantee of habeas corpus in Article 1, the framers put its suspension in the power of Congress alone. Under our Constitution, says Justice Taney, only Congress has authority to suspend the writ of habeas corpus. As the power is given to Congress to suspend the writ of habeas corpus, wrote Justice Story, the right to judge whether the exigency had arisen must exclusively belong to that body. Chief Justice Marshall said that if suspending the writ is necessary for public safety, only Congress has such authority. Justice Taney concludes, I can add nothing to these clear and emphatic words of my great predecessor. Keeping freedom demands watchfulness. As the decades and centuries roll on, legal labels will vary and persons concerned will change. But the steady flame of ancient remedies for trespass upon God-given dignities in all men remains. Hence, common law's right to the habeas corpus writ applies to Americans and non-Americans alike. This great writ, says Tom Jefferson, secures every man here, whether alien or native free man, against everything that is not law, whatever shape it may assume, understood aright only in light of the common law. The habeas corpus clause thus applies in every geographic place the United States chooses to act. History is clear. Without this writ, freedom fails. The innocent will rot in jails. See this handbook, U.S. Declaration of 76, section 28, and comment. To understand the meaning of the habeas corpus clause, it will be necessary to have recourse to the common law, for in no other way can we arrive at the true definition. It is justly esteemed the bulwark of personal liberty, applied in every case of legal restraint. For every restraint upon a man's liberty is, in the eyes of the law, an imprisonment, wherever may be the place or whatever may be the manner in which the restraint is effected. Justice Joseph Story. Section 9, Clause 3. No bill of attainder or ex post facto law shall be passed. Comment. A bill of attainder is a legislative act to punish a person without affording him the right to a trial by jury. An ex post facto law makes criminal an act already done that no authority had declared illegal before the act was done. Both a bill of attainder and an ex post facto law violate common law separation of powers, because both are Congress's attempt to exercise judicial powers. Both also thwart the course of the common and thus violate due process. Magna Carta Chapter 45, calling it the law of the land. See this handbook, U.S. Declaration of 76, Section 20, and comment, U.S. Constitution, Article 6. See you on the next call. In love and peace.
All right. So that was the reading. And so we'll go ahead and go through the study guide questions so that you can be able to go back through the reading to do the questions for the study guide. Okay. And so it's pages 96 to 102. Here is the link for the audio. And we'll go through these. Okay. Number 152, Section 9, Clause 1, the blank or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such blank, not exceeding $10 for each person. Number 153, as such, it is blank to alter this fixed value as the Federal Reserve Bank Chairman now does without blank our Constitution. Question 154, Section 9, Clause 2, the privilege of the writ of blank blank shall not be suspended, unless when in cases of blank or invasion of the public safety may require it. This is where the New Mexico governor seems to think that she thought she was going to try and pull a public safety issue using a medical issue, medical emergency, trying to tie that in to suspend the gun laws in New Mexico. And we saw how far that went, right? 155, called the blank writ. The writ of habeas corpus grants no right. The right against false jailing is as old as the laws of nature, but instead provides a ready tool whereby one can blank remedy a false blank. 156, the common law tradition holds this writ to be the first and greatest blank for personal blank. The common law, having upheld it for ages before Parliament by statute, confirmed it. 157. The writ of habeas corpus by which the blank under which a person may be detained can be blank is of immemorial antiquity. 158. Because the blank of the habeas corpus writ to keep a country free is blank, it is alone is called the great writ. 159, it nevertheless conferred no new right, but only blank, a right already existing, for although the right could not justly be denied, there was often no effectual remedy against its blank. Number 160, for following Fuller's counsel, however, the Star Chambers and the High Commission's priest judges jailed Fuller's clients for blank. 161, blank, a suspect or potential witness for long spells under hard and humiliating conditions can break his blank and force his compliance to false confession or testimony. 162, the writ can also run against a blank for blank one without right. 163, if the jailing power blank to meet this burden, the court will order blank of the prisoner forthwith. 164, further, the blank is on the jailer to prove the lawfulness of his holding the one jailed. The one jailed need prove blank or even say nothing. 165, war breeds blank state power. War begets blank men. Powerful men beget more war. 166, by removing the state's power of blank through blank, jailing of an undefined length of time, the writ of habeas corpus strikes at the heart of blank. 167, in 1833, Justice Blank recognized that only Congress has the power to blank habeas corpus. 168, keeping blank demands blank. Number 169, Section 9, Clause 3, no bill of blank or ex post facto law shall be blank. 170. Bill of attainder is a legislative act to blank a person without affording him the right to jury blank. All right, so that was the end of this week's readings. Next week we'll go through the same thing. We'll go over these questions that we just finished here, go through and play the next reading, and go through the questions then for you to be able to do that for next week. All right, so at this point in time, the first and third Mondays of the month are the combined General Assembly and Militia Assembly calls. And the second and fourth Mondays are the Jural Assembly and the Militia Assembly. Now, while the minimum requirements to be a general member is the presentment that you have, the presentment of that you do live on Indiana, and that you your birth certificate, the 2 witness testimonies in 1779, to be able to still be able to keep up with what's going on with the assembly. But to actually be invited to the Zoom call to sit at the table with the actual discussions, you do need to be armored up. You will have had to have lived on Indiana for at least a year and a day. You will have had presented your participation member agreement to the assembly, as well as the full PDF background check report from clearchecks.com in order to participate. This is not about hurting anybody's feelings. This is about tightening up as to bringing forward people that are actually willing and ready to actually make this happen. We're looking for grown-ups to do this. We're not looking for just anybody and everybody that wants a free-for-all to think that they can just pile in. If you're looking for that, that's on you. But that's at the district and municipal assemblies. And if you're not sure where you actually belong, Anna's got an article. Go to searchannavonrights.com and look up 3 choices. You got 3 choices. You can either play ball correctly here, or you can go to a district or municipal assembly, and they'll be glad to do your hand holding for you. They'll be glad to do whatever it is you need them to do. And if you need a platform to be able to have that space, they'll give it to you. But it's not happening here. We're here to get some work done. We're not here to have infighting with each other, nor are we here to fight with our neighbors in any way. We're here to support each other. We're bringing forward a new Indiana that's better than what it's been. Now, you're either on board with that or you're not. And if you're not, that's fine. Go live your life and be happy. We love you and we wish you peace. But you're not going to bring your games here. So we're looking for those that are grown up, that are ready to make this change happen. We're not here to play any games. We're not here to one up the other. We're actually here to make this change happen. And when you're ready to do that, we're all here ready to participate. We are working with our neighboring state, Kentucky, to see how we can be able to support them. They are lacking a state coordinator presence where they have a marshal at arms presence, and we're joining to see how we can be able to support each other through these times. All right, I will see you on the next call. I wish you love and peace.